Connor, I'm going to start with you first. How did this partnership initially form, and how did you come up with the concept behind Waterboy?
Yeah, well, I guess when I last talked to you, it was about a different business,
Yeah.
but I sold that in December of 2020, and around the same time, um, I was actually talking to this girl that Mike was also talking to. Supposedly at different times, I don't know, timeline's up in the air, but she actually connected the two of us together because we were both kind of in that entrepreneurial world and we're really interested in health and wellness. And Mike had this idea, and so we met, got coffee here in Austin, and just kind of like aligned on what we were trying to do. And I loved the idea and what kind of his vision was for it, and just started working on it together from that point.
You built such a presence on TikTok and leveraged it to do some initial demand testing. How did you know that was the right platform for the brand to differentiate itself?
Yeah, I think it was primarily when COVID was happening, just being a consumer of the app and the platform and seeing where I was spending a lot of time and where I felt like a lot more people were spending time. And then trying to think of leverage initially, it felt like on Instagram, your reach really depended on the size of your channel. And because we were a new brand and no one knew about us, to me was what platform will allow us to get a lot of eyeballs, even if we're a new and up and coming brand. And that was the beauty of TikTok, that it offered this virality feature that you could be a nobody, but as long as the content itself is good, then people would watch it and share it.
Like you're just saying, you're no stranger to entrepreneurship. What did you learn from your previous business ventures that you've now been able to bring over to Waterboy?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things, the last venture I did was like for the most part myself. And it's a very lonely journey being an entrepreneur. And I think having someone to lean back on and fall back on and like bounce ideas off of and tackle different things has made this a lot easier and a lot more enjoyable and a lot more fun. Definitely stressful at the same time, but I think for both of us, it's probably been really helpful having each other just to lean back on and like talk to each other about different things versus just making these executive decisions on your own. So to me, that's probably the biggest thing, but also too, in the first venture, I think I put a lot of emphasis on myself promoting the product and kind of putting the message out on social media. And this one, I kind of wanted to do it differently. And when we tackled the approach of how are we going to market this, it was less of, hey, how are we going to get, pay XYZ influencer to post this, or like what content can I make to post this? But it was how can we almost turn the brand into an influencer and have a really good presence, whether it's on TikTok, Instagram, or any other platform, and have people kind of come to our channel for entertainment, for fun, to laugh, but also to like learn about the product. And that's really the approach we took from the beginning, and it ended up being very successful for us.
Yeah, perfect segue to this next question. But Mike, Waterboy has such a distinct voice and branding. How's the company evolved over time and found its personality?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, I don't know how much we've shifted our personality over time, because to us from the very beginning was, hey, there's this product, it's meant to be consumed around fun times in your life. And a lot of other brands are overly serious. And whether that's because they're owned by a bigger conglomerate or they feel like they have to be very serious to communicate the product benefits, to us was, can we keep it lighthearted, fun, and entertaining while taking our product seriously? And then as we've grown, I don't think we've necessarily lost that sense of playfulness, because to me, probably the worst thing that can happen is as we get bigger, we lose who we are because we try to play it too safe and almost what got us here to begin with. So like maybe certain messaging has tweaked slightly from our learnings, but the main vibe of the brand has relatively remained the same from the start.
And then, kind of while many businesses have struggled during the pandemic, Waterboy has thrived. What's been that key to that success?
Yeah, I mean, I think in times like COVID or other like economic situations, I think you just have to get creative with your marketing and what you're doing. And I think that's the cool part about this story, is that we really started this business with no money. Essentially, we both put a little bit of our own money into it, but because we were creative with how we were marketing it and what we were doing, we were able to not have to use any of the money that we invested into it, because we started making TikTok videos. Those did really well. We were able to capture all of this interest in phone numbers and emails. And then we decided to do a pre-sale, sold that out within a day, which funded our whole first production run. And we shipped that out a month later. I think a lot of companies almost like go into this stealth mode and don't talk about the product, don't talk about what they're doing, and then ultimately launch without doing any marketing, but they've already paid for all the inventory and all of this infrastructure and everything. And then it's like, wait, why did we not get any orders when we launched? Well, it's because you didn't market the business. You didn't get any interest in what you're doing. And so I think that is something that we just tried to do differently and put a lot of emphasis on. And I think in times like COVID or other situations, you have to just get creative with what you're doing and try and almost like work with what you have in a way.
This is a question for the both of you, but with any business, there's going to be growing pains. What's one thing you each know now that you wish you knew when you started Waterboy?
I think fortunately and unfortunately, most of our growing pains have been around supply. So I think if I could go back in time in hindsight, I feel like we've grown really fast, but we could have grown even faster, and it's easy to just look backwards. But what I probably would have done earlier is just looked at more production facility and capacity, and rather than like wait around for that to slowly expand with our current places, is just to de-risk that and just be able to get more supply on our hands faster.
Yeah, I think for me, it's probably, I think to sum it up in like one sentence, stay in your lane a little bit. I think there's a lot of businesses that either try and do everything or are really good at whether it's like podcast advertising or maybe advertising on like a bus or working with influencers or doing something else. And I think sometimes when you look at those things, it's like, oh, why are we not doing that? Because X, Y, or Z brand has done a really good job at doing this. And sometimes you end up kind of going into these areas without a lot of experience and without the ability to actually get a positive ROI out of it. And so I think for us a little bit too, at times it's almost like taking a step back and be like, hey, these are the things that are really working. Let's just focus on those, put more energy and more effort into it and really grow it. And then when we have, maybe it's more team members or more capacity to test these different areas, we can go into it. But yeah, I think the biggest thing, just to sum it up, is probably kind of staying in your lane and diving more into what works.
Yeah, and having been on this journey for now 3+ years, has there anything surprised you about the experience thus far?
I really don't. I honestly, I wish I had like a good surprise outside of the norm. I mean, I want to say like the targets we've hit, I've almost like visualized them from the start. Some of the roadblocks and challenges obviously were not anticipated, but really with anything, you just like figure out how to pivot and move. Like, for example, our first product we were going to launch with, if you look at all our handles and socials, is Waterboy can. We were actually going to be a canned drink. And then when we realized we couldn't, within a day, we made the switch to powder and then just move forward. So I don't know that there's anything that necessarily has taken me so far quite by surprise. And then whatever came, that was maybe an outlier outside of the mean, then we just figure out how to deal with it.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that answer for the most part. I think, I mean, there's a lot of just things that you kind of have to adapt to as time goes on, whether it was us being a can originally, having to pivot to powders, or even now, I think like as we're exploring the retail route a little bit and having conversations there, it's just interesting to learn about how that whole industry works and everything and how it's different than our direct to consumer business. But I would say every day there's probably some sort of surprise, honestly.
Having been friends before you started this company, have you learned anything new about your respective business partner?
I'll let Connor go first.
No, you got that
one. Anything new? I mean,
like
new over time. I mean, I've learned like personal things about Connor, and then
say something personal. Throw it out there.
I've learned that Connor likes his shorts really short and his socks really long. I've learned that like if Connor ingests a gram of gluten or dairy, he will probably pass away.
Yeah. All right. Well, you open up this can of worms, so let me toss it back. I learned that Mike gets frequent spray tans.
That is not true.
That is true. That is true. I have our other employees here to back me up on that one. And I think not that there's anything wrong with this, but twice a year shaves all limbs and everything.
Not all limbs. I've never shaved my arms before. I just have to throw that out there. That is
okay. Just the legs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, that was probably a good answer. I feel like you got some
Yeah.
good. Yeah. Probably
It's very
not
much
the
like your
answer you give
TikTok
to
content.
people. Yeah.
And there's so many exciting things in the works for the brand, including Waterboy can, like you were just saying, and merch. What's ahead for the company? What are some of your long-term goals?
Kevin, we're about to blow this thing up.
Yeah. I mean, it's so hard, right? Because it's so hard to think long term because right now the day to day is just so busy. Obviously, we have a big picture. I mean, we launched with a product to help someone recover after a night out, and then next was a product to help someone recover after a workout. So our goal is, rather than make a one size fits all hydration product, let's make hydration functional and add ingredients specifically when people need them. So with that comes different points in someone's day or life that they need products. That's on the product end. And then on the marketing end is like, how can we continue to have fun with the brand, connect with our customers, build a loyal audience, like have just people really care about us. So yeah, I mean, that's really the big picture view. And then the other big item too is to be, realizing that availability is key. So meaning if someone needs it in an hour, if they need it in 5-10 minutes, how can they get it?
Yeah.
Especially some of the products that are required to have it's like a last minute purchase decision and you're maybe not very thoughtful and mindful of. But obviously that comes, with like growth and time, and like we've been able to, cover quite a bit of ground in 2 years. So that I would say that's probably the long-term view, is more or less what Connor said earlier, is just doubling down on what's working and then figuring out different areas that we can like test and explore on a smaller scale before we dive in further.